probably friends with, you probably, of course you're that.
My first semester here was fall 2020, so I didn't really know anybody. I didn't really know, especially coming from Texas, I knew nobody.
Came here, COVID, all that, and sort of was like, I'm not doing that anymore. So I actually didn't join the daily my freshman year.
We were doing it all virtually at that point, so I'd sit in Tish and be on Discord with the daily people.
And the daily at the time was one of the few clubs that actually had an in-person component, because this was during COVID during my freshman year.
And I think I was just looking for a way to stay connected with the Tufts community, hundreds of miles away.
I just thought it was a really cool way to get to know the Tufts community, to get to know our host communities of Medford and Somerville by doing interviews, albeit Zoom interviews at the time.
And then by the spring, we were able to come into the office and everyone was wearing masks. So yeah, it was really special for me.
Just as journalism industry at large is changing, as technology is changing, the daily is changing. We have a new website and we have a lot more multimedia stuff going on.
We've seen the growth of sections. We've seen our science section, newsletter section, our business team, reinvigorated, the video team rebuilt up.
I think for me in the layout section in particular, it looks very different now than it did when I first got here. It was a pretty popular section, but COVID kind of changed things a little bit. We started printing less frequently, had less layout, less people involved, and so we kind of had to shift our whole approach to how we recruited people and trained them and approached doing a print paper.
It's gotten better at including newer people.
The first, semester that we were finally back in the office, it was very invite only.
When I was a newer person, I think the first time I ever came into the office, I was basically M-Board was in this room and they were like, oh yeah, cool, you're a sophomore, you go over there.
I was just a little copy editor, so I got to come in for my 2 hours and with M-Board. But it felt like I was really a small piece of a very larger operation.
And I think over time, myself and other people who kind of experienced that eventually, became leaders at the daily.
Something that I wanted to do with my M-Board last semester is really make the big organization feel like everyone's a really important piece of the machine.
We want to make it very clear that this is everyone can come into the office, we're open to everybody, and I think kind of as a result of that, the dailies just continued to grow.
When I think about my time at Tufts, I'm going to think about the daily first, and I think, a common thread through that, it's, less what I did and more who I did it with, and it's been some really great people, a really amazing community.
I've met so many people through the daily that have stuck with me and made me think more about kind of who I am and what I want to do.
Starting there in COVID, it wasn't really a great time to branch out and find new things. For me, the daily represented a place where I can just come and be myself and just be part of a larger community.
I love the daily so much, specifically the Daily. When I talk about the daily, there are so many people that have influenced my whole Tufts experience. I know Maddie Aiken was editor-in-chief when I was a sophomore, and she was so awesome and cool, and I just wanted to be her so badly. And then in the spring, my exec was Julia Shannon-Grillo, and we were also friends. And so I got to come into the office a lot more, and I got to meet more people, and I became such good friends with the M-Board at the time. Courtney Bohl is a huge role model for me in terms of all things M-Board.
When I really look back on it, I've learned a lot in all aspects of my college life, including in the classroom, but really the daily has taught me the skills that I'm going to use in my job when I graduate. It's taught me the kind of person that I want to be in the world. I cannot overemphasize the importance of the daily in my college experience.
No job yet, but I've submitted apps to smaller newspapers and things like that.
I've definitely moved from political science interest to more of a marketing, I don't want to say that, but more of a journalism centric view of the world, I guess.
I am going to be working as a news reporter in Durham, North Carolina. I'm covering local government and politics for like a super cool independent newspaper in Durham. It's like the kind of community-oriented public service journalism that I was inspired to do at the Daily.
I know I'm not going into journalism, at least right after graduation. I'm working sort of in public policy, government space. But I think I've learned a lot here at the Daily about how to tell a story, communicate a message, work with all sorts of different stakeholders, and just implement, like come up with ideas, but also implement the ideas and figure out like, what's the 5-point plan to get this done? Who do I need to talk to? How do we convince them? And I think even though I'm not doing journalism, what I've learned here at the newspaper, I think I'll be drawing on that probably for the rest of my career.
I'd say try everything and try it like 100%.
Just don't sweat it so much. When I started doing layout, I remember my first night as layout exec, just doing things on my own. I was pretty terrified, and I was worried that every little mistake would be caught and that it'd be at the end of the world. But over time, like I know last night I made so many mistakes and it doesn't matter at all.
Trust is a big one. When you're working with a team of people like this on a managing board or in a section or whatever, you have to trust.
Don't be afraid to ask for what you want, because I think for me getting started in the Daily, a big part of that was just like working up the courage to say, hey, like I really want to write this story. Would you let me do that? The answer was always yes, like people were always around me, like wanting to support me. Like it was usually a matter of like asking for what I wanted.
Just say yes to opportunities and, chances and experiences at the Daily, because you never know, where it might lead you, who it might lead you to, what you might get out of it.
Don't feel afraid to try different sections. That's part of the point of the Daily. We want you to try anything you have a vague interest in. There's something in the Daily, I think, for pretty much everybody.
Ooh, yeah. Okay, I do have an answer to this, I think. There's like a whole wall of photos. A few semesters ago, we got some newly developed photographs back from a film camera. And there was one of Ty, who is elsewhere in this video, and another photo of Mike. It was just the top of Mike's head visible in the photo, and I realized it was the same width as Ty's head, so I was able to put them on top of each other and just create just an abomination of a creature that we dubbed Tyke.
So I'm slightly biased because a Weekender I wrote is right there, but I think like that was a big moment. I remember when I saw that. I was like, I think it's more for the Magic Mike thing than it is for the Weekender, but I was like, oh, something I wrote's on the wall.
My object would probably be the set of bananagrams we have somewhere in this room. Bananagrams is a game that we sometimes play, and we're very competitive. We always want to win, some more so than others.
Well, there are these 3 clocks in the other room representing the times in Medford, Somerville, and Boston. Because when you're in an international newsroom like ours, you need to keep your finger on the pulse of the time.
Yeah. I think my favorite object in the office is this couch because it has a fun story behind it. Spring 2023 editor-in-chief, fall 2022 managing editor Julia Shannon Grillo and I picked up this couch from a free Facebook Marketplace listing in Somerville in December 2022. We loaded it onto the back of my housemate's pickup truck and drove it here and maneuvered it through the narrow, short doorways of the office to get it here because we wanted to make the office cozier. And it just was like a really fun bonding moment for us. We were backing the truck up to the porch of the stranger's house and climbing in to shovel the snow out with our hands because it was snowy and it was December and it was just like it was a mess. But then we got it back to the office and we set up the projector and we watched probably some journalism movies.
Sitting on the couch ever since.
And we've been sitting on the couch ever since.